Hello, and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and today we have a fabulous guest, the prodigious writer Walter Mosley, who has a new book out, number 53 or 54, we're not sure. It's called Down the River Unto the Sea. Thank you so much for being with us. You're not sure either whether it's 53 or 54.
I am sure.
Yes, that it is.
Three of the books are ebooks. I published them as ebooks because I was publishing too much.
Because that's the thing, right?
And one of the books is called Jack Strong. Now, Jack Strong is kind of like a novella.
Yes.
So some people count it as one of the books and some people don't. And so if you count Jack Strong, it's 54.
54.
But if you don't count it, it's 53.
And I understand that you write every single day. Is that true?
Yeah.
Or you don't take a day off?
You're like a mother, right? When you had a child, did you take a day off? So you come into the kids and say, I got to take the day off.
I know,
Can you take care of yourself today?
Well, so that you get up in the morning, and I'm very curious about you because not many people in the world, you may be singular as a matter of fact, who've turned out that many books in this short a time.
Yeah, it's been a lot of books in a short time. I'm 66, from the age of 38 to 66 has been 53, 54 books.
38 you started writing, and as it says on your website, started writing then and has written every single day since then.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Every once in a while, if you have like a bad flu or something, you might think about writing but not get there.
Well, I am such a fan of your work. I tell you,
Well, thank you.
In knowing that we were going to have this conversation, I went to my library and I was looking. I don't have all 54, so there's a dereliction on my part, but I've got a lot of them. Easy Rawlins was a favorite of mine, and I love all of the color schemes, yellow dog, cinnamon this, fantastic. And what's so interesting about that is that you killed him off at a certain point, Easy Rawlins, this fantastic hero. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I killed him off and brought him back, but I killed him off because it was funny. I was writing toward the end of the book, and he was driving. It was blonde face, and he's driving, and he was barefoot, and he was drunk for the first time in 20 years.
Right.
And it was on the Pacific Coast Highway, so he passes a car and comes back, and he passes a car. Then he passes a car, begins to pass, and a truck is coming. And so he goes to the dirt, shoulder.
Right.
On the left side, the ocean side, and then that ran out, and he goes off the cliff. And I stopped, and I remember I went, wow, I didn't expect that to happen, but
That just came out of your...
I was just writing, and and it was
fingertips.
and then I went, wow, I guess I must have meant it. And I think at that time it was a cutoff period between my father's life and his experience and my life and my experience. I didn't know that at the time.
Really?
And so I just let it go. I said, okay, so I'm not writing that anymore. But then about 4 or 5 years later, I went, wow, but I realized I could write these books from my point of view rather than my father's.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about your family because we always ask our guests to place themselves in Black America. And we're placing you in Black and Jewish America. Your mom is Jewish, your dad is Black. And it's so interesting in reading about the 1950s where your folks actually got married, but they wouldn't give them a certificate.
Yeah, well, that's part of the mythology. And I call it a mythology because I actually believed it at the time. The truth is, my father hadn't yet gotten a divorce from an earlier marriage.
Oh, that always complicates things.
And they didn't get married until I was 8 years old, until they could,
Right,
whatever
right.
I don't know what he did finally, but he finally proved it. Or if he didn't, they're both dead now, so they're not going to get arrested for bigamy. But
we're talking 1950s when that
in the
was
50s,
in
and
many
they had
places
trouble
against the law, right?
Yeah, and they had lots of trouble, but
How did they
it's
meet?
California.
How did they meet?
My mother was married to one of the richest guys in L.A., a guy named Novak, who owned a house on a private street, kind of toward downtown, big mansion. But my mother being a socialist, said, well, I have to get a job and work. So she was working as a clerk in a school where my father was a janitor. And so she met my father, and the way she explains it, I realized that I wasn't in love with my husband.
Really?
And
she
so,
fell in love with...
she went back to him and said, I'm leaving. I'm going to go live in Watts with my new husband,
Incredible.
And it was very funny.
What a great story, and it lasted.
It did. My father died in bed next to her.
Wow. Incredible, incredible story. So I'll just, as a side note, say that as I was reading about you, that some people said, well, actually, maybe he's a Jewish writer, not a black writer.
Well, there was a big argument in the Jewish literary community online about saying whether or not I was a Jewish writer.
Right,
And a lot of people didn't want to be. And it's funny because they kept on saying, well, he's not a Jewish writer because he doesn't write about Jewish, things. But a lot of Jewish writers write about things that aren't Jewish. But
Sure.
So it was kind of like racism that was informing it, but either they didn't know it or they were trying to hide it. But there was an argument. People saying, well, of course we want him to be one of our writers. What's wrong with you? And other people saying, no, he's not a Jewish writer. He's a black writer.
So you let them fight it out, But
Yeah.
but speaking of racism, down the river unto the sea, not into the sea, but unto the sea.
Unto, yes, right.
Why not into?
Well, that's like under, right? Like that's like sinking.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. You're like going to this big expanse.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what you were thinking.
Yeah.
And you dedicated this book to Malcolm, Medgar, and Martin.
Yes. Not only because all their names start with M, but
Yes.
yeah, well, the book. The reason I wrote the book, it's funny. It isn't about the main character. I love the main character, Joe King Oliver, but what I wanted, I've thought a long time about not only Mumia, but Nick Mumia and many other black activists who somehow end up in prison for things they may or may not have done. However, whether they did it or not, there was a good reason, probably. And I have in this case, I have a man who's a activist and a journalist
Yes.
who's working uptown, and he comes into conflict with these corrupt policemen who at some point try to kill him, but he kills them instead. And he's been sentenced to death.
Right.
And my character, who's a policeman, so doesn't like this guy, but he's black, but he's a policeman, he doesn't like this guy, proves to himself that this guy had to be innocent. And
Well, he was sent off to Rikers himself for. He was set up. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. We don't want to give away too many details to that. I'm going to tell the whole
he
book
was set
as
up.
I'm reading
You could say that.
Right, all right.
You could say that,
But
but the thing is that regardless of that, though, he
Yes.
still feels committed, to his brothers in blue, and
A policeman who was set up, sent to Rikers, lost his career.
right, and had to
became
become
broken,
a detective.
Described himself as broken and
Yeah.
bitter. Right.
But none of that matters because he doesn't blame that on his friends. There's somebody did it. He doesn't know who, but once he proves to himself that this guy is innocent, but understands nobody will ever listen to him. He's proved to also to himself that he is innocent, but nobody's going to listen to him. So he has to take extraordinary acts in order to do what's right. And that's what I always wanted to write about. As I say, there's guilt and there's innocence and nobody is perfect, but in the end, are you going to do what's right or not?
Right, right. And he does some pretty mean things, or has his pals.
Well, I mean,
Well-
he's dealing with people who are like him. So
Right. Well, mean is an understatement. But early in the book, you have your character saying, "Not everyone sees the rules the same. The law is a flexible thing on both sides of the line, influenced by circumstance, character, and of course, wealth or lack of same." And that's what both of your main characters. It's this sort of blurred line.
Yeah, well, and all of my characters, because not just them. It's their friends. I mean, it's interesting that how you work that out. It's lawyers and it's policemen and it's career criminals and there's all kinds of people who exist in this kind of free flowing space. It's something that we want to think. Well, there's the law is the law, says Javert, but indeed. The law is the law, but it depends on who's looking at it as to what it means.
Exactly. But you're writing this book at a time when police officers and black men are hot topics, the subject of murder, of guilt and innocence, and and you explore all of those issues. Is it actually on purpose, I'm sure, to unearth the underbelly of those relationships.
Yeah, it's on purpose. But you know, if somebody were doing a painting of the sky, and they made the sky blue, like, would that be on purpose? I guess. But the sky is blue. You know what I mean? It's I'm just writing about what these characters are going to encounter in their lives, and how those lives have to change with circumstance not always being on their side.
Right. Well, it's a terrific read, and I love the daughter. He has a teenage daughter, and I was saying to you before we started, you know, that I really wish you would write a protagonist, a detective, or some woman who carry the theme through. Interesting your response when you started writing.
Well, you know, one of the things that I do that I recognized, you know, 54 books ago, is that I write about black male heroes. I mean, that's the thing I do. And there are not many people who've ever done that, including black male writers. The black male protagonists, you know, you can talk, go, through James Baldwin and Ralph Ellison and Richard Wright. Heroes, not so much.
The definition, hero.
Yeah, a protagonist, a person that, we're learning from, but it's like, to somebody who you want to be, it's not Robin Hood, but I kind of like Robin Hood and Mouse and, and all these other characters. So I like, kind of making that happen. Also, as we were saying, I come up about 30 years ago when I start writing, and I have the experience that the dominant fiction writers are women. There's Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, Terry McMillan, Gail Jones, Gloria Naylor, the Brewster Place. I mean,
so you were the singular person then.
Extraordinary writers,
and maybe still so, but
and then there were a lot of ones who were writing mysteries. A lot of black female mystery writers who were wonderful, black characters, and they were great. And I was like really happy about that. And so, like, I'm just trying to say, like, black men need heroes, and I'm writing them.
Okay, but maybe when you get to book 60 or 70, you might throw in a, we'll be waiting for that.
I have written women protagonists, but women are never happy. When I write women protagonists.
I noticed that. Yes, all of your women are so interesting in all of your books. So, you've got the magic touch. I did want to talk with you about Sue Grafton, going back to, for those who don't know, Sue Grafton, a mystery writer who got to letter 25 before she unfortunately passed away. And I read A, B, C, D straight through, just as I'm reading.
A is for alibi, right?
A is for alibi, from that all the way through. And every year my family would give me the next Sue Grafton. And I was so disappointed when I found out that there is no 26, and there won't be any 26. But perpetuating that kind of character through 25 books, and I recognize your struggle when you got to Easy Rawlins, and I think you were at number what then, 14.
Now I'm at 14.
Right.
Yeah, 14.
So it was, so that
was about maybe like 11.
11, So perpetuating those characters and finding interesting things to say.
I don't have much trouble with that, because every book is a year or two later. And so Easy is changing, and the world around him is changing, and so his character has to, make allowances for the world that he's living in. So like, in an early book, he just can't go to these white neighborhoods. In a later book, he can go, but the police are going to stop him.
Right.
And they'll stop him when he walks into the building, they'll stop him when he walks out of the building, stop him when he gets in the car. But he has more mobility, even though somewhat limited. And as time goes on, it's more and more, and all of the characters develop, and so I don't have much problem following Easy through.
And in terms of your writing craft, you teach at Sundance. You write, you screenwriting.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that. How is that different for you from writing your novels, your mystery?
How teaching is different?
How the substance of it, and you must be a fabulous teacher. We know that. You don't yell at your students, do you? Do you?
No, my God, no. I couldn't imagine that. I did have an argument with one student once.
You did?
I remember that. But I I started teaching Walter Bernstein, a wonderful screenplay writer who's now 97 years old, and today he's teaching at NYU, I think. He's
At 97?
Yeah, at 97, he takes
Right.
the subway down. He wrote The Front. It was a great movie, Woody Allen's best movie by far, and he got me in. And I thought I shouldn't do it because I went there and I said, everybody here has more experience than me. The teachers have, the students have. I don't know anything. And they said, yes, but you know about story. And I went there to convince them that they were wrong. It's a beautiful
really?
place, Sundance. So
Yes,
if you
yes,
go there,
nice-
it's great.
Nice place to spend a little time.
Yeah,
right,
but
right.
so I was happy there. But
Yeah.
then then they kept asking me back, and it turned out that I do know story.
You know
And
story.
because I pay less attention to the technical stuff about film, I'm able to talk about what should unfold.
Right,
And
right.
then somebody else can worry about how you do it technically. Though I know now, after it's 20 years of doing it, I know a lot more about it. You know.
Yes, yes. So we keep wondering where are the next movie, television versions of Walter Mosley's books. You know, we have Devil in a Blue Dress with Denzel, which was just fabulous. We want to see more of that. Talk to us about the process of getting your work on the screen.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing for anybody. Yeah, and it's a little more difficult even now if you're persons of color because, people just, I mean, if you don't understand the culture, it's hard to understand somebody trying to talk about the culture. I have these two guys from England who have come up with the money to pay for the pilot for the first Leonid McGill novel, The Long Fall. And a series will come out of that if
Sure.
if we're able
Great.
to sell this pilot and it works. So I'm very excited about that. I'm working with another mystery writer, Gary Phillips, a wonderful guy, and we're trying to do a black western. Because the Oklahoma Territory
Sure.
was almost all non-white. Clint Eastwood's movie Hang 'Em High is about that time. It just made everybody white. I tried to do Easy Rawlins. That didn't work. I'm trying to do The Man in My Basement as a movie, and I have a production company also from England, and we'll see where that goes. The thing is, you work on this stuff.
Sure.
And
It's
it's
always
hard.
years in the making anyway. The
And
process.
it's hard to make films with black content. As I told somebody the other day, I said, well, now that the Black Panther's been made, there's a window of 6 to 9 months where people will want to make, movies with black content, and then they'll go back again. But I'll try along with everybody else to sell, go back and say, well, you want to buy my wares?
What do you think of? Have you seen The Chi? Do you watch that at all on Showtime?
I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
It's
it.
an interesting, but all black characters. Chicago, very.
Yeah.
I find it extraordinarily well done, but debilitating because you actually are seeing young black children being killed and using guns, and but an interesting breakthrough at any rate.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know who I'm supposed to be telling that reality to. I mean, I don't mind when other people do it.
Right.
But when I'm doing it, I'm saying, well, I'd much rather write, about. I don't mind writing about that situation, but I'm going to be writing about a hero, and we're going to be concentrating on that hero, kind of working their way out of that. Because it is true that happens a lot. There's drugs, there's violence, there's this, there's that. But there's more, white people, even per capita, doing
Sure.
Heroin than black people. But if I were to say I was going to make a television show about white people, I wouldn't say, well, it's going to be about heroin, of course, and they're all going to be addicted and they're all going to be dying. It's like, no, it's like, I'm not going to do that. I like to have fun, and I like to see people who are living in the world that can usher other people into that world.
You care very much about where we are in our democracy, and especially with the challenge to our media, fake news. We have a clip of you at a town hall. Let's take a look at that, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
We have to go through this. We have to go through this struggle of trying to understand and finding out where the truth is coming from, which of course, or what the truth is, because we're creating that truth. I think it's wonderful. I just think that it's really important to question what you're thinking about it. Question what Obama is. Question what the New York Times says. Question what your own history is. Because most of us don't have any idea of our history, especially so-called white people. They have no idea who they are, where they came from. They certainly are white people, but they don't know that. They say I'm white. So there's a whole thing. There's so much that we have to go through. There's so much of the story that we have to unpack. And that I think it's wonderful. And I also think that we're doing it now. We wouldn't have been doing it we might have been doing it under Bernie, maybe not. But I think that certainly there's nobody else who was around that we were going to be doing it under.
Wow. So Thomas Friedman had a column recently where he said, we're in code red. This is code red now. Mm-hmm. America's in big trouble. Mm-hmm. How do you feel?
Well, I think America's in big trouble. Bobcat Goldthwait many, many years ago had a stand-up routine, and he was talking about Ronald Reagan, and he said, who was president then, he said, I don't like Ronald Reagan. I dislike the man, he said, but I can't blame Ronald Reagan for my problems. Blaming Ronald Reagan for my problems is like blaming Ronald McDonald if you get a bad cheeseburger. It's really one of the best political jokes I've ever heard. It's like, yeah, I know, I don't like Donald Trump. But I don't like Pence either. And I know Pence is more dangerous than Trump because he can actually bring those people together. And when I'm looking at it, I'm saying, well, what's wrong with America? Our problem with Trump was the same problem that we had with Obama, meaning to say we didn't get together and force the right thing to happen. We just sit back and said, oh, look, to sit back and say, oh, look, or to sit back and say, oh, God, it's terrible. It's kind of the same thing. I honestly believe that Americans have to understand that we've abrogated our democracy and given it to the rich who support both the Democrats and the Republicans.
Sure.
And until we get that, we're not going to get anywhere.
Do you see any inkling of movement in the right direction?
I see inklings, but not a whole lot. I still think, like I was saying in the thing, white people still think they're white people, which is completely ridiculous. And, the idea to identify people by race is so, it's like 18th century. I mean, it's not even like 19th century. It's, certainly, or 20th. And when you don't know who you are and you don't know your own history and you don't have an idea of where you should be going outside of, capitalist facades presented to you, what are you going to do?
Well, you say capitalist facades. I mean, are you advocating socialism or some?
Well, you don't have to be anti-capitalist to understand that a lot of things that it does is not in your benefit. To say the idea of profit, every dollar I make over the division of all, separation of all the money every dollar I make more than that is a dollar everybody else loses. And if you have all these billionaires and all these billionaire corporations and all this stuff, that's because the money represents labor. And I think that people need to understand. It's a simple dialogue, but you need to understand it.
Yeah, but is this code red? I mean, have we?
Well,
reached that?
we're in code red, but we've been for quite a while. I mean, the population is growing crazily. There are dictators all over the world. Capitalism loves dictators. That's why it supports them. It supported them in South Vietnam, supports them in the Philippines, wherever they are. And those people are murdering people and thinking everything's okay. But what it does is it's good for business. And we have to understand good for business is not necessarily good for people. Sometimes it's good for people. But it's not always, no. And so the question, to say it's code red, okay, it is, and it has been for a while. But if we get rid of Donald Trump, it's still going to be code red.
Was it code red under President Obama?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, sure, absolutely. It was all these things happening all over the world. It wasn't a mistake.
Sure.
even the thing about the thing about when we bailed out the banks, after the fiasco at the end of Bush's reign, to bail out the banks, the people who stole the money we could have bailed out all the people making $40,000 or less a year, all the taxpayers, give them that much money and let them bail out everything. So I'm gonna put it in the bank. I'm gonna buy a car, send my kid to college. I'm gonna go to Las Vegas and hang out with hookers. Whatever you did, it would make America stronger.
We always ask our guests to finish the statement, the power, the strength of Black America lies in. What's that for you?
The power and the strength of Black America, but not only Black America, lies in our ability to see clearly the situation that we're in. And if you see something clearly, no matter what happens, you're going to make the right choices. And the right choices are what are important.
Thank you so much, Walter Mosley, for being with us today.
Thank you.
The book is Down the River Unto the Sea. It's a fabulous read, a new protagonist, and we just have to wait in line for that woman that you're going to write about.
That's right. You have to wait in line. Get online.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thanks to you all out there as well for watching us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. We'll see you the next time.